behind. I have been hearing this worry over and over and over again. Actually, feeling behind is a normal it's a normal feeling to experience in young adulthood, but also now at my age, in my 40s. Now, when students, young adults come to me, usually when they're talking about behind, it's because there's this systems-based, right? Society has said that these are the things that we need to do in a certain order, certain years. And I teach college, I teach university. So I get a lot of university students. And especially now, there are so many of y'all who are working 1 or 2 or 3 jobs, which means you're taking less classes, which means it's taking more time. And then when I speak to y'all, you worry, is this taking too long? Am I behind others who are completing this in 4 years? Or perhaps after college, or not after college, after high school, you needed to take a break, right? You were tired. You were burnt out. And now that you're back in school, or maybe you're not back in school yet, but you feel some sort of paralysis of, have I screwed up my entire life already because I'm not in school, because I took a break, because I needed to get surgery, because I wanted to be there for my grandmother when she was sick. And so feeling behind, I think, is a normal feeling. I think at my age, but it's interesting because when I hear it from y'all, I have one of 2 reactions. I'm like, behind what? Or behind whom? Like, who are we comparing ourselves to? Because if we think about it, even college, the amount of years that we're in college is totally arbitrary. Even if you go to different countries, college sometimes lasts 3 years or 6 years or 5 years. It's not always 4 years. Somebody just that was like, here in the United States, a college degree will take 4 years. High school. If you go to high school in France, it's 3 years. It's not even 4 years. Some people they don't do 12 years of schooling. They do 13 years of schooling, and then they go on to a university if they want to. So again, the years are made up. I actually think that it's a strange thing for us to be like, there's a one-size-fits-all system or structure. I think about it this way sometimes, where I think I watch a lot of rom-coms. I love the romance. I love happy endings. But isn't it interesting in these rom-coms that the end of the movie tends to come when the relationship is solidified? Roll credits when they have their first kiss. Roll credits when they get married. Roll credits. It's like we've got a lot of answers for the beginning stages of things. And then what do? We roll credits. Why? Because we never know how things are going to go. We can be prescriptive about certain things, but then what? Then we don't have answers. Now, for those of y'all who are young adults, I think it's the same thing. We roll credits after college. We have these systems that are like, if you want to thrive in this world, here you go. Here's the prescription. You do 12 years of school, you get good grades, you get into a college, you go to college, you graduate college, and then roll credits. I'd venture to say it's because the adults who are rolling credits, who are telling you to do this thing, that this is going to make you survive and this thing is going to have you thrive, they don't know what's up. They don't know what the next steps are. So the easiest thing to do is to roll credits. And now you have the rest of your life in front of you. So now what do? I started this with feeling behind. So let's go back to feeling behind. So again, if we're time bound, if success means that it has to happen, like success comes when you meet certain measures set by other people and other people's timelines, then perhaps this feeling behind would logically make sense. Because I think the deep fear here is not that we're behind others necessarily, but there's a question of, am I doing this life right for me? Have I missed the time frame for me to be able to do this thing? Have I royally screwed up the rest of my life because I haven't made this choice or this decision yet? So I think there's deep-seated fears that are valid in, am I making choices that I want to be making? Am I making choices that are going to provide me with opportunities to thrive moving forward and even today? And one of the easiest sort of scapegoats is, well, shit, there's this timeline that people have set out. I see my friends on Facebook, not on Facebook anymore, on Snapchat or TikTok or whatever socials y'all are using, where I'm seeing them sort of thrive. I'm seeing them travel. I'm seeing them getting jobs. I'm seeing them getting a new apartment. I'm seeing them going to school. And if they're doing it, perhaps I'm not doing it right, okay, for my own life. Now, I have a perspective that may help. In this perspective, it's actually not possible for you to be behind on your own path of life. So let's logically walk through this analogy. So there's just you, this being, 1 out of 8 billion people, and it took however many, like the miracle that it is that you have arrived on this planet at this time. Okay. Now, you have this game. You have this life that you're living. You have this path that you're walking on, right? It started the day that you were born, and it's going to end whenever you pass on to what's next. Yes? That time frame. Can y'all see that nobody out of the 8 billion people even have the same length of time as you do to the second? No. I mean, now those of you who are statisticians, be able to calculate. So maybe there's a small percentage chance, but also let's just say we're running this, like if we're thinking of something's being behind, it's like we're on this path and we're racing other people. And that there's a finish line, that there's like a winning finish line. That's the same for everybody. Okay? So we're on this path that is just ours. It's our own time frame. It's our own length of time. Now, can y'all see that your friend who is traveling, your family member who is now in college and you're not, the person that got the apartment, I don't know, they have different timelines. They have different paths. They started their game at a different a different time frame. Their winning, their goal line, their finish line for whatever project they're working on is also different than yours. So you're on this path, they're on their own path. Even if you see each other's pathways or paths, how many times can I say paths in one video? Y'all can't necessarily be behind because they're on their own and you're on your own. You're not actually racing the same race. You're not playing the same game. You didn't start at the same time. You have different end goals. So this being behind is just not possible. You can cross paths and say hi. You could share a sandwich. You could take a little picnic. You can look at some wildflowers together. But you can't actually be behind because you're not running the same race. Now, let's say you were running the same race. I think of the tortoise and the hare. Yeah, the fable. And in the tortoise and the hare, they start the race and the hare goes really fast. Yes, and the turtles just, is it a tortoise or a turtle? Depends. They're just hanging out, walking. Yeah. But the hare runs really, really, really fast. Now, what happens in this story is the hare runs really, really fast, gets really tired, decides to take a nap. So I got a lot of time. And then by the time that they wake up from their nap, the tortoise has been chugging along at the tortoise's pace, but has now passed the hare because the hare slept for a while. And then the tortoise gets to whatever that arbitrary finish line first before the hare. Okay? This analogy works. Started at the same time and they had the same finish line. Can y'all see, for most of y'all in your lives, that you have a very unique starting point and end goal? okay, and finish line. But I think the context matters because they ran the race two different ways. It doesn't mean one is worse than the other. Sometimes we're going to want to sprint. And after the sprint, we're going to want to rest. Great. And then once we wake up, we may want to walk to our finish line. Some of us, consistency, 5 minutes at a time, a slower pace works really well because we don't have the capacity to sprint. Not only do we not have the capacity, maybe we don't want to because we just don't like it. Now, if that finish line was at 100 yards versus, 13 miles, the hare would have actually won that race. Can you see that? Not the tortoise. The tortoise would have gotten there, though, at some point. So who's to say? Who gets to say which one's behind? Who gets to say who actually is better? Whose way is better? It's just that we've got various ways, and we get to choose. So one perspective is perhaps you're not behind on some arbitrary timeline that other people have set for you, where other people have said that this is what creates success. But then I have questions. What's success for you? What success did they mean? Are they the same? It really does matter what game you want to play, what your finish line is, what's a win for you, what are you going to be proud of, what are you working towards. Now, when I think of feeling behind for me, it's not necessarily in comparison with other people. I know that I did feel that in my 20s, maybe even my 30s. In my 40s, though, honestly, it feels like I'm time bound. Like, do I get to be relevant when I'm 50? Do I have a lot of time to be able to run and jump and dance with my body? How long do I have still left? So I think when I think of, am I behind? I'm feeling an urgency. Like there's sometimes an urgency of, I need to do this all now because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. And when I think about it that way, the fear is not actually, am I behind? The fear is, am I going to be able to feel joy the rest of my life? Am I going to be able to do things that I love? Am I going to be able to make the impact that I want to make? Am I going to be able to move and adventure and dance the way that I want to? So I think it's a reframe for me when I start to feel urgency. It's a reminder to me to think about joy, not necessarily behindness, and twofold, to lean into the things that matter to me now, to create a life for myself now that matters and feels really good and joyful and peaceful and satisfying and whatever the things are that are important to me in whatever era I'm in. And then there's a bit of trust for me that needs to happen, where I need to trust that up until this point, I have created joy. Up until this point, life keeps getting better. What if it could just keep getting better? Or what if I could trust my future self to just create joy, given whatever life circumstances are going to happen, because life is gonna life. So given whatever life circumstances are gonna happen, can I just trust that Cielle in the future will create that joy? And when I lean into that, the time urgency dissipates. Now, one last thought that came up when we're thinking of feeling behind. We think about feeling behind in comparison a lot to other people, right? So there's a comparison game. Now, comparison and jealousy specifically, if we're talking about it, right? Like we're not going to feel behind if we don't want something that we see somebody else having. And I have started to sort of embrace this jealousy feeling. I love what jealousy or comparison. Do I love it? I mean, sometimes it feels rah. But it's actually sort of fun for me to discover jealousy because it showcases to me and it signals something that we want in our life, something that we're missing, something that we want to incorporate or that we want more of. So if you find yourself scrolling and stopping at all of your friends who are traveling, perhaps that's a really good signal to you. In this plethora of choices that we have, this overwhelm of, oh, do whatever you want, and there's so many possibilities, that can also be paralyzing. Yes, there can't be an overwhelm of like, there's just a billion choices and I have to choose the one that I want. Jealousy is one way to do that. Jealousy actually can showcase to you what you do want, and maybe it is just travel. So out of the millions of possibilities, you're like, oh, actually, maybe I want to lean into travel. Or maybe it's an RV. Like, I want to simplify life. Or maybe you're stopping whenever somebody feels really peaceful or really satisfied. Or you wonder, I did have this moment. I thought about this the other day when I was drinking coffee in the morning, is when I had young kids, I went to a wedding. And I remember seeing, it was like the grandfather and the grandmother came out of an RV and they just drank coffee and they both read. They just were reading in the morning. And I remember being flabbergasted because I was like, what? That's possible? It's possible to just like wake up and read for like an hour and not be interrupted by kids throwing stuff or climbing on me or diapers to change or noise or whatever. I had forgotten that was possible. And that moment reminded me of something that I was yearning for, which was a little bit of peace, a little bit of time to do things that I used to love to do and I wasn't doing anymore. And fast forward, now I get to do that most days if I wanted to, right? I've actually turned that into painting mostly or journaling or something. But that was a really great moment in time where I yearned for something that they had. And that allowed me the space to then create it slowly. I still had young kids. It wasn't like I was going to be able to do that the next day, but I was able to like entered my consciousness. Ooh, that sounded weird. My psyche. I mean, it had me realize what was important to me. So when we are feeling behind, perhaps, or when you stop the scroll, or when you're like when you're comparing yourself to somebody else's timeline, something that may help is to just pinpoint, like, what is it about this video, this picture, what they're telling me, where I imagine them to be, that I'm yearning for? And that could be a really amazing signal of what you want to lean into next, what you want to create next, not as you're behind. Because again, you're living your life, you're walking your pathway, you're walking your way. And there's no way that you can be behind because nobody is running this race with you. But being aware of what you want, what you're jealous of, what you want to lean into next allows you now to pick the direction that you're going to go to. That when you come to a fork in the road, you get to start to choose a different path, or perhaps it's the same path. And then you get to choose how you want to walk it, or run it, or dance it, or eat through it, or I don't know, however you want to walk it. Okay. I hope it helps. And if you have any questions or concerns that came up, or if you were like, see how, no, this is not going to work for me, or I still have a question, or you're missing something, oh my gosh, let me know. These are the conversations and the discussions that I love. And if you don't know by now, I am a life coach for young adults. I've been a professor for over 25 years. It lights me up knowing that I can support y'all young adults in this journey of thriving and creating a life your way. In a way that you feel confident. You feel confident with your next steps. You feel good with what you're creating, not on anybody else's terms, on yours, while also being real about the world that we live in. And normalizing that it's hard. Is it hard? Life is gonna life. Wait, I asked a question. Is it hard? Yes. Life is gonna life. And can you do this thing? 1,000,000%. Okay. Till the next time.